It seems a lot of people ride motorcycles to impress others, not because they genuinely love to ride. If you can take one thing from this video, ride for yourself. Not for likes, not for compliments, not to impress strangers, just for yourself. I think this applies to motorcycles, but honestly, it applies to life too. Because somewhere along the way, it became very easy to forget why we started doing the things we love. Why did you start riding? Think back to the very beginning. Your first motorcycle, or maybe even before that, the first time you ever sat on one, the first time you twisted the throttle, the first ride around the block. You probably weren't thinking about horsepower. You weren't comparing brands. You weren't wondering if people approved of your motorcycle. You were smiling. Maybe you were nervous. Maybe you stalled the bike. Maybe you forgot to cancel your turn signal. But none of that mattered, because riding felt new. It felt exciting. It felt freeing. And most importantly, it felt personal. Somewhere along the way. Then something changes. We start watching YouTube, scrolling Instagram, browsing Facebook groups, reading motorcycle forums. Suddenly, instead of enjoying what we have, we're thinking about what we're missing. Maybe I need a louder exhaust. Maybe I need different wheels. Maybe I need a bigger motorcycle. Maybe I need expensive riding gear. Maybe I need better camera equipment. Maybe people will take me more seriously then. And that's a dangerous trap, because it never really ends. Comparison is endless. There will always be someone with something more. A newer motorcycle, a faster motorcycle, a bigger adventure bike, a cleaner garage, a more expensive helmet, more everything. If your happiness depends on catching up, you'll spend your whole life chasing someone else's finish line. Social media isn't real life. One thing I've learned over the years is that social media is a highlight reel. Nobody uploads the boring commute. Nobody films sitting in traffic for 45 minutes. Nobody posts the flat tire, the rainstorm, the mechanical problem, the expensive repair bill. Instead, we see mountain roads, perfect sunsets, brand new motorcycles, luxury riding gear, beautiful destinations, and without realizing it, we start comparing our ordinary Tuesday to someone else's best day of the year. That's never a fair comparison. The best rider I ever met, one of the nicest riders I ever met, didn't own an expensive motorcycle. It was older, scratched, definitely not perfect. But every single time I saw him, he was smiling. Every fuel stop became a conversation. Every ride became an adventure. He wasn't interested in impressing anyone. He genuinely loved riding. That stayed with me. Because sometimes, people with the least impressive motorcycles have the biggest passion. Nobody is keeping score. Here's something that took me years to realize. Most people aren't paying attention. They don't know what year your motorcycle is. They don't know how much your helmet costs. They don't know if your exhaust is aftermarket. They don't know if your suspension is upgraded. And honestly, they don't care. Everyone is busy dealing with their own lives. Once I realized that, it felt incredibly freeing. Buying the motorcycle you actually want. There's a question I think every rider should ask themselves before buying a motorcycle. If nobody else ever saw this bike, would I still want it? That's a surprisingly difficult question, because sometimes we don't buy what makes us happy. We buy what we think other people will respect. Imagine buying your dream bike, only to realize it wasn't actually your dream. It belonged to someone else's expectations. That's an expensive mistake. Small bikes, big smiles. One thing I absolutely love is seeing other people enjoying their motorcycle. Some people look at engine size first. I look at the rider. The happiest riders aren't always on the biggest motorcycles. Sometimes they're laughing with friends at a roadside restaurant. Sometimes they're taking photos beside a rice field. Sometimes they're simply enjoying the ride home from work. It has nothing to do with horsepower. The loudest bike isn't always the happiest. Have you noticed something? Sometimes the people trying hardest to impress everyone don't actually seem happy. They're always chasing the next upgrade, the next accessory, the next modification, the next motorcycle, the next destination. There's nothing wrong with wanting better things. I've upgraded my motorcycles too. But there's a difference. Upgrading because it makes you happy is completely different from upgrading because you're hoping someone else notices. Content creation changed my perspective. Making YouTube videos has taught me something. It's easy to start chasing numbers, views, subscribers, watch time, comments, algorithms. You start asking yourself, what video will perform best? Instead of, what video do I actually want to make? I have to remind myself why I started this channel. Because I enjoy riding. Because I enjoy sharing those rides. If one day I stop enjoying the ride itself, then something has gone wrong. The motorcycle should always come first. The content comes second. Quiet confidence. I've started noticing something about confident riders. They don't need to prove anything. They don't constantly compare motorcycles. They don't criticize what other people ride. They don't chase attention. They simply enjoy themselves. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need approval. And honestly, that's the kind of confidence I admire. Ride your own story. Every rider has a different story. Some are students, some are parents. Some ride because it's affordable transportation. Some ride because they travel. Some ride every weekend. Some only ride once a month. There isn't a correct way to enjoy motorcycles. Your journey doesn't have to look like someone else's. Your story is enough. The freedom of not caring. One of the most freeing feelings I've experienced is realizing I don't need everyone to understand why I ride. Some people think motorcycles are dangerous. Some people think they're inconvenient. Some people don't understand why anyone would wake up at 5 in the morning just to ride for 2 hours and come home. That's okay. Not everyone has to understand. The ride isn't for them, it's for you. Looking back years from now, I don't think we'll remember how many likes our motorcycle photo received. We won't remember what brand of gloves we were wearing or how expensive our riding jacket was. We'll remember that early morning ride, the unexpected road, the coffee stop, the rider who waved first, the conversations at gas stations, the sunsets, the rainstorms, the memories. That's what lasts. Closing reflection. As we come to the end of today's ride and reflect, I'd like to leave you with this thought. The best motorcycle you'll ever own is the one that makes you want to ride, not the one that impresses strangers, not the one that wins arguments online, not the one that gets the most attention at a parking lot, the one that makes you look outside on a Saturday morning and think, I can't wait to go for a ride. Because that's what this hobby is supposed to be about. Joy, peace, adventure, freedom, not competition, not comparison, not validation. If your motorcycle, whatever it is, makes you smile every time you start the engine, then you've already found something many people spend their whole lives searching for. So ride proudly, ride safely, ride within your means, ride your own pace, and most importantly, ride for yourself.